joining, everybody. We're going to get started here. It's called Just Use Teams, How Putting Collaboration First is Transforming Project Management. And I'm joined today by Mike Taylor, CEO of Innovative E. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Brian. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining the webinar today.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to today's conversation. Also joined by special guest Jan Adams from Microsoft. Hey, Jan.
Hi, Brian. Mike, how are you both?
Great. Thanks for
Glad
coming.
to have you. Yeah.
Yeah, so without further ado, we've got a lot of people here, and we've got a lot of great things to talk about. So let's get started. Teams for PM is a trademark of Innovative E, and the contents of the webinar are the intellectual property of Innovative E and Microsoft, and may not be used or reposted without consent. So with that, we will get started. We've got a busy agenda today. We're going to hear from Jan Adams, the solution specialist for Microsoft Project at Microsoft in the federal space. Just going to share a few updates of how Microsoft sees project management and sees the platform playing a huge role in that. We're going to learn why Teams is the obvious choice for work and project management, why you're probably already using Teams today, and how you can extend that into project management capabilities. We're going to witness how powerful, easy to use tools like Project are changing the project management landscape, and discuss how Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power BI enhance the work and project management experiences for users on Teams. So we're just telling you a little bit more about Innovative E and our mission, which is to transform work and project management into a competitive advantage with a modern cloud-based collaboration tool set that enables everyone to work toward their core objectives. Just wanted to share some news if you hadn't heard. Innovative E has been recognized by Microsoft twice this past year, as a finalist for Partner of the Year in customer experience globally and also in project portfolio management. We've been recognized 4 out of the last 5 years in similar regards. We're going to open up a poll now so that you can tell us a little bit more about yourselves. So Pamela's going to open up that poll inside of Teams. And the poll question is, which of these apply to your team or organization? And you can select all that apply. Project information is spread among disparate legacy systems. You're wasting time on tedious, repetitive tasks. You want to work more efficiently from the cloud. You need complete visibility to help to drive decisions, but your data does not support it. And your work is managed inefficiently with disconnected tools. So please share your story with us. We'd be interested in learning more.
Got a lot of responses coming in.
Okay, what looks like it's
And
leading
the
there,
pack
Mike?
right now is your work is managed inefficiently and disconnected at about 26%, but it's pretty even. There's also, you want to work more efficiently from the cloud at 19 or 20%, and then followed by project information is spread disparately, and then you need complete visibility. And the last one's wasting time on tedious tasks, although it's still 15%. So
Wow.
Still number one is your work is managed inefficiently with disconnected tools.
Yeah, so that's going to be a huge topic of discussion today, is using the Teams platform as one connected platform for project and work management.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's keep going. And I think I'm going to introduce Jan Adams here. Jan, I know you had a few things you wanted to share with the community today. Thanks for joining again. I'll turn it over to you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Brian. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jan Adams. I am the project specialist for Microsoft's federal customers. And what that means is I handle all project sales for all of our federal government agencies, both civilian, the military, and our intelligence community. So glad to be here with you all today. What I wanted to talk a little bit about today was really how Teams and Project and all of our Microsoft stack really plays into collaborating, which is one of the most important aspects of project management. But how do we get there, and how do we get to where we need to be with the right data, right? So one of our project management vision is actually teams work the way they want, enterprise get the results they need. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide, Brian. And what I really mean by that is look at all the different needs you have in project management, right? You have all your tasks, you have, certain methodologies, certain employees like to manage in Agile, what others like to manage in Waterfall. Reporting is obviously super important to get the metrics that you're looking for, being able to automate your workflows, bring in your financial system and the information that you want to pair with it, and really take all this data and make it something meaningful that you can manage your projects from. So the way we do that really is through collaboration, right? And go ahead to the next one, Brian. And when you look at all of the applications that we're going to be discussing here with Teams for PM, we're really talking about all of these applications on the Microsoft Cloud, right? But the real one that creates the glue is Microsoft Teams. So you're going to see in the demonstration throughout this presentation that Brian provides is how Teams can be used as the front end for all of your project management needs, right? Your Power Apps can be configured. You can see your Gantt charts using Project. Your Power BI is going to give you the metrics and the visualizations that you need to do presentations to executive leadership. And it goes on, right? You certainly have the regular productivity Office 365 stack that helps you put this all together. All of that sits on top of the cloud, and depending upon if you're a commercial or a federal entity would depend on which type of cloud that you set in, because we certainly have security controls all the way from commercial up to our Department of Defense. So with that, I would like to take the opportunity to turn it back over to Brian so he can continue, and I hope you enjoy the presentation. Teams for PM is really something that's been created to just put it all together, and I think you'll see that in the presentation. So thank you very much.
Really appreciate that context, Jan, and all the really great innovative things that Microsoft is doing to provide a platform for collaborative project management. So you guys already know this, right? Teams usage is absolutely skyrocketing. I had to update this slide today from last month when we did the same presentation because the numbers have gone up so much. Over 1 million organizations across the world are using Teams. Holy cow. Wow.
Yeah. And that's your slide last month showed like 280 million people, and now it's 300 and 20 million in a month. Wow.
Yeah, about 300 million users. And of course, we all know that the hybrid working model accelerated the use of Teams. And Teams isn't just a video conferencing system that we're on for this webinar and this call today. It's a complete collaboration solution for your enterprise. And more and more people are embracing that and realizing it. And I think it's important to note that projects are probably already happening on Teams, project management, project tasks. Mike and I talk about, what we think, the most prevalent really, category of work could be on, just everyday usage of Teams. And we think project management is probably a big part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a big part of what people do is projects, whether they call them projects or not. It's things that need to get done at a particular time with a particular beginning and ending, right? Maybe there's some dependencies and things built in there. So it's a huge, actually, there's been a lot of studies by Gartner and IDC and a bunch of analysts around that a huge part of information worker time is actually consumed doing what is ostensibly projects. So, and like you said, organically, people are going to come to a place where you already have a lot of your collaboration, your capability for document management, what we're doing right now, which is your web conferencing and all those kind of capabilities all already built in. So it's organically building up for kind of work and project management.
Exactly. So you're probably already using Teams for project management today. You're just kind of doing it in maybe an ad hoc fashion, or you see the potential in Teams, and that's why you're on the webinar today. So what we want to talk to you about is how to effectively leverage Teams as a project management system and start collaborating today. Because chances are you're already using it. After all, projects are about getting work done, and that's where the work happens. And new, easy to learn project tools like Microsoft Project for the web are built to put collaboration first. It hasn't always been that project portfolio management systems have put collaboration first.
No.
I think, I think you'd all agree. Project portfolio management systems haven't always been the most collaborative systems, and they've always kind of been a representation of the project work and not actually where the work itself happens. And I think that's been where they've fallen down.
Yeah, that and they've been relatively expensive. The licensure
Yeah.
is higher, so it's not easy. So it's harder to use because you have to have a high level of proficiency and understanding the methodologies and how you're managing it. And it hasn't really been designed to allow for what we're a lot of people calling kind of the democratization of project and work management, so that everyone can get involved. We've heard that for years, right, Brian? People are like,
Yeah.
well, everyone in our organization, or a big percentage of the people in the organization, might need to participate at least, from time to time. And it's been difficult because of the way the tools were architected.
It is, and they end up sometimes being just like time management systems, or where you go to put
Files and
data in
artifacts.
about
Yep.
the project in order to get a report out, and it doesn't tie down to the actual work taking place. So what we want to do is, to the extent that it's possible, we want to make the project management system where the work happens, so that the data that represents the work is actually closer to the work itself.
Right. Yep, absolutely. And your last point there, I know you were going to hit it there, is reducing shadow IT. So
Oh,
what people oftentimes have done, right, is go out and try to find the easy button. And there's been a proliferation of all of these project and work management, third party, born in the cloud kind of solutions that are out there. The
yeah.
so and so dayoftheweek.com and all these others that are out there, right?
Right,
But what they're really trying to do is get at this problem that a lot of people can't participate easily. So you can just swipe a credit card and get it. But the problem is
right.
you're now creating new silos of data that are out there, and
Hmm.
in doing so, you're making some of the that the problems with shadow IT. You got disparate data. You got so when you're trying to pull it together in an enterprise view or do things more consistently, you've actually made the problem worse in many cases.
Right. Yeah, yeah. So there are folks in your organization that aren't professional project managers. You may be one of those folks on the call today, and you're just looking for a simple, easy to use way of managing your projects in a collaborative way. And Microsoft is making that even, as easy as they ever have these days. I think that you'll be delighted to see what we show you today in terms of just the ease of use and how simple it is to get started with a lot of these project management tools that are out there. So you can stop using things that aren't really made for project management, like Excel or SharePoint. And you can start using a project management tool that has a powerful scheduling component to it, but it's easy. It's easy to use, and it's simple to get started. So let's keep going. Some of the common challenges we hear about when we talk to folks like yourselves out there, really regardless of industry, is that collaboration is happening in real time on projects. People are always trying to get work done, but the work and project management that govern it stand apart from the actual work that's taking place. We talked about that a little bit already today. And what we want to do is try to simplify things and bring project management to the people, and the people are in teams more often than not. Formal work and project management roles address critical issues, but tool sets are often outdated and overly complex. What can be more critical to an organization or more strategic than the most important projects that you could be working on at a given time? They may be the next product that you're trying to put on the market, or an improvement to customer service that you're trying to institute, or like a new branch office in retail, or whatever the case may be. But those projects, they have to be on time and on budget and in the market as scheduled. And then non-traditional roles, those casual project managers in your organization are managing a significant amount of work and making decisions without full access to project management tools and information. So they're just using whatever they can get their hands on. The data is becoming siloed, as Mike said, and those are not the most ideal tools that they could be using for project management. Having an Excel spreadsheet on somebody's desktop or in a file folder somewhere that's being used to manage project tasks is not ideal, and there's a better way.
Or being emailed around. Don't do that, please.
Yeah, don't do that. Um, can we learn a little bit more about you guys and where you're coming from? Specifically, what's your current state of Teams adoption at your company or organization? Are you one of those million organizations that have already adopted Teams? Are you just getting started? Just heard of it? We don't use it at all. Is it only being used in pockets of your organization, or is it really catching on? Or are you all in? Let us know. We really want to understand kind of our audience and what you guys are dealing with in there.
Oh, this is really interesting, Brian. So we're all in, and Teams is really catching on, or almost neck and neck. We're all in is
Oh,
a
really?
little higher, about 40% to 33. Only using Teams in pockets, about 21%, and only 3% or we don't use Teams yet. So everyone's
Great.
using Teams, and over almost 80% are really either really catching on or all in. So that's actually
Well,
great.
to some extent, Mike, if this was it's the topic of the conversation, right? So it's
Yeah, that's true. It wasn't the topic, right? It wasn't
right,
the abstract.
right. If we had a
So
baseball podcast or webcast, then I would expect that people have been to a baseball game in the past, right?
so you're saying you made this question to play to the audience a little bit.
But it really is true. I mean, like it's great that you guys are already in, that you're positioned, that it's really catching on, or that you're getting started using it, because I'll tell you what, we're going to show you some really cool things today and things that you can get started with right away that are going to amplify your project management because you're using Teams. So what does it look like, and how do users experience project management in Teams? Well, um, you can use project inside Teams by adding it to a tab in a Teams channel. And and this is the latest and greatest version of Project. It's called Project for the Web, and it's available from Microsoft as a subscription. And what you can do is you can actually start a project schedule inside of a Teams channel tab and get started working on your project. Um, I think they're even coming out with a trial of this, Mike, that you're going to be able to just get started from your tenant, if from your Office 365 tenant, if your administrator allows it,
hmm
where you'd be able to just try it before you
Right.
buy it.
Yeah, they're actually coming out with that, and there's a lot of things, a lot of announcements that are coming out of the project engineering group. The other one that believe is going to happen in the not too distant future is the in-app upgrade or trial from Planner as
Hmm.
well. And Planner's one of the most used add-ons um, in
Hmm.
the Office 365 ecosystem, I believe.
Yeah, they just announced that at Ignite, actually. So it's really exciting. I'm going to go over a few of those other announcements at Ignite, but if you haven't seen Project for the Web yet, I'm going to show it to you today in a demonstration. But it allows you to do real-time co-authoring of a project schedule inside of Teams. It has a copy project feature, so you can take one project that you've already done and kind of snapshot that and use it again for another type of project, a way of templating things. And of course, because you're using it inside of Teams, you have a threaded discussion feature. So that's how you collaborate with your team. Instead of emailing things around or waiting for a status meeting, you can have a discussion about a particular task, or you can have a discussion about the project itself. And we're going to show you that today as well. You can, of course, assign resources in your organization to tasks, and then they can receive a notification. But also announced at Ignite, Mike, coming to the product very soon, is an integration between project and Teams tasks and planner tasks.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and that's going to be a really cool feature. And there was another feature that was already announced, which actually plays into this discussion a little bit, which is project any. So a project manager or somebody would need a license, and we actually had a question about that to be able to create a schedule, right, Brian? But
Right.
for team members, anyone who has a Teams license, which is anyone who has O365, basically
Yeah.
enterprise, can actually update tasks that are assigned to them, which is really interesting because that
Right.
solves that problem we were talking about earlier of everybody being able to participate without having to go out and get additional licensure. So
Right.
Microsoft really has thought through how to make this a much more robust, not just robust product suite and with interoperability, but also how to really engage everyone who needs to be engaged in the organization.
Yep. And lowering that barrier of entry that you were talking about before about licensing is a huge development.
Yes, absolutely.
And Project for the Web is built to collaborate in different ways that may be collaborating as an organization. Maybe you're having a stand-up meeting and you want to use a board view of the tasks. You want to move those along. We'll show you that. Dependency management, though, we're not sacrificing that. So we can have one task dependent upon another. If something pushes out, the project pushes out the end date. So understanding where those tasks are critical in your path is part of what project provides. And then predictable end dates. So we want to make sure that we're using scheduling tools when we're managing projects, not just lists or task management apps that don't emphasize the relationship between tasks. Because we're using the entire platform for project management, we can then use Power BI to point at the data. Project for the Web comes with out-of-the-box report sets that you can leverage, and you can visualize inside of another Teams tab. So this is something you can get started with right away. As soon as you start using Project for the Web and you upload the Power BI reporting feature into Teams. It centralizes dashboard reporting across all projects that are being managed that way, so you can make better decisions and increase awareness and eliminate manual status reporting. A lot of people are spending a lot of time on manual status reports, getting those together every week, and that's time that could be saved and automated. Timelines, milestones, tasks, and resources are reflected in this report set, and it's always up to date on the latest information that's available from project.
Yeah, you hit on something there, Brian. I'd just like to enhance on a little bit. So you've got Power BI here. There's multiple pieces. One of the things that's kind of a paradigm shift that is kind of an underlying tone of what we're talking about here is we're really leveraging the whole platform and all the tools that are available. So in many organizations where there's widespread Microsoft adoption, you don't just have Teams, you have Power BI, maybe you have Premium. You've got Power Apps and some of these others. So some of the fundamental pieces are already in place. So you can use what you have to build upon it and really make much better things. And without going out to these, like we said, shadow IT or moving your data off platform and things like that.
And it really is a platform. So when Microsoft is going to do reporting for project management, they're going to use their enterprise grade Power BI that you're probably already using in your organization. It's probably already been adopted in some way. They're going to use that. When they want to do workflow, they're going to use Power Automate. They're going to put the best enterprise tools they have forward, and you're going to be able to leverage them for project management. So we touched on a few of these things earlier, but wanted to go over some announcements that were made at Ignite. And there is a blog post out there. If you just Bing or Google Microsoft Project Ignite, you can find it out there. And it has all of these videos that actually walk you through what exactly was released at Ignite or announced. I don't want to say released because some of this stuff isn't available yet. But Viva Goals integration. So the ability to connect your project tasks to employee goals and bring visibility and drive outcomes. That's pretty cool. So you have a project going on and you have some goals aligned with that project, and those are then coming up in Viva Goals for that employee. So if you're using or embracing Viva Goals, that's a pretty cool tie-in that they're going to be building there. And if you're not using Viva yet, definitely check it out. It's a very powerful tool. There's a people view, and I'll show this today because it's already available, but being able to review all tasks for your team members in a central screen based on their workload and drag and load balance things. So you have a screen of everybody's tasks, and you can drag and drop different tasks and reassign them to people depending on workload. Really cool development. And integration with Teams tasks. We talked about this already, but I think this is going to be basically a pivotal moment in the evolution of Microsoft Project and how it relates to Teams. Basically, by default, having team tasks assignments visible from Microsoft Project. So you go into your Task by Planner app in Teams, which lists all of your to-do tasks as well as your Outlook tasks if you're using that. It lists all of your planner tasks in there. We'll have project tasks in there in the near future. So it's a one-stop shop for all of the work that's happening across the organization on Teams. And then Agile goals, workloads, and more. So we're doing Agile. We are happy to say that Microsoft Project is fully embracing that, and the ability to have Agile goals and sprints available inside of these tool sets so that you can leverage them for those purposes. And I'll show that today as well in the demo. Just helps you align the tool set with different methodologies and different ways that you want to manage projects internally. So let's go to our last and third poll question. When considering the use of Teams for project management, which of the following would be a priority for you? Would you like to see the ability to enable workflow for project intake, bridging complex and simple projects into a single data set, incorporating agile work management processes, centralized and collaborative risk and issue management? So I know that's a really big topic for a lot of you out there. Automating and standardizing the creation of project teams channels, standardized project status reporting. So let's check all that apply there as well.
Yeah, the responses are still coming in. It's very interesting. It's a very broad distribution, almost even. Looks like standardized project status reporting's in the lead with 24%. Automating, standardizing project channels, and central risk management are both about the same, 17, 18%. Let's see, about 17% for ability to workflow and project intake. And then Agile's about 11%, bringing complex projects into a single data set's 8. So yeah, it looks like the winner is actually pulled ahead a little bit is standardized project management status reporting. It's up to about 27%.
Great. Yeah, we're going to talk about that today. And we're going to leverage Power BI for that. Another kind of one that's really up there is centralized collaborative risk and issue management, just like I thought it would be. That is definitely something that I feel strongly about, and being able to take a risk, catalog it, and then make sure that you're providing the appropriate response so that it doesn't become an issue. I know a lot of you are using different ways of doing that, maybe in Excel, or you've got a SharePoint list, or you're just doing it in meeting minutes. Very important aspect of project management that we're going to show you an intuitive and easy to use way of tracking that so that you're able to do that more readily.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have been doing it for a long time. For the PMPs that are on the call or other, you know that risk management's a huge part of getting through a project. It's risk, and then they get escalated to an issue, and then you have a way to manage that. You have mitigation plans, impact analysis, all that kind of stuff. It's hugely important, but it's probably one of the pieces, I think you'd agree, Brian, that's most underdone or not done well in project management. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's just not easy to do, or the data gets in disparate places and things like that. So that's one of the things, as you said, we tried to kind of go after, is making sure that it's easy to log risk and issues and lessons learned, because that's kind of your progression, right? You have a risk, it gets escalated to an issue, you resolve it, and then you have a lesson learned, or you should, right? And those lessons learned are kind of living thing. It's not just at your end of project in retrospective. You should be doing that all along the way. But there's a little PMI or PMP advice there. But because we do projects all the time, right? That's what we do. So help people do it all the time. But you're absolutely right. The shortening that distance so that you can do better issue and risk management and lessons learned is huge.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if your projects have a lot of issues that come up, it's probably because you're not spending enough time managing risk, because that's where it comes from. A lot of people think, I haven't evolved. I'm not mature enough to do risk management. I'll get to it eventually. In my opinion, it should be like one of the first things you do when you're evolving a PMO. And it prevents a lot of other stuff from happening.
And just starting projects. I mean, another unsolicited advice here, since you guys are on the call: never start a project without at least one risk. There's at least a risk in there.
There's always
somewhere.
Something. Yeah.
There's something. Think hard.
Even if it's you.
Yeah. Or availability, resource availability.
Right.
Things like that. There's always things that are there that you need to just at least be aware of and keep on the forefront as you go through and manage the initiative.
Right. So we talked, Jan talked, about the platform, and That's really the PPM system, the platform. And what are we going to do within that system in order to really create the kind of experiences that we want around our project management solution? So it's about having the right scheduler, right, Mike, and having the right tool set in order to manage projects. But it's what you build around it that really creates a project portfolio management system that
Absolutely.
works for your organization. And that involves the reports that you're going to need. You're going to need reporting both at executive and at a project status level. You're going to need workflow. You're going to need the ability to create your own business processes and emulate that inside the solution. And your workflow probably works a certain way in your organization with, you either have some sort of workflow in place today, or you're doing this with documents and emailing them around, or whatever the case may be. We want to make sure that when you're using the Microsoft platform, that you're able to leverage Power Automate in order to create those business processes. It also
Especially on
has to
the
do with being able to capture and organize, categorize data about projects.
absolutely. Yeah. And
So
I
it's
was going
not
to say,
just the schedule, that data that we're talking about, or the resources that are assigned. It's what is the project? Why are we doing it? Who's the sponsor? Who are the stakeholders? When does it get started? When is it supposed to complete? What's the capital and operational expense that or budget that's associated with it? And we could go on and on.
and the metadata that changes throughout the life cycle of the project and portfolio, right? Some of those things change. Budget may be increased or decreased. Timeline may be changed. Strategic drivers may change because of other things that are happening at the enterprise or portfolio level. So there's all kinds of things that evolve throughout the life cycle of each project and the portfolio as it moves through time.
Right. And it's how you want to report. Like, what are your KPIs, your red, yellow, green, your RAG indicators? How do you measure them? Are they manual? Are they calculated? And how do you basically explain what's happening? Do you have a description on your project status reports that explains what's happening with the project, in verbal form? And all these things have, you need these things in order to have an effective PPM system. But we can do it inside Teams, and we can do it by leveraging the Power Platform, Power BI, Power Automate, and Power Apps to extend the experiences around project management and keep you in teams, stay in teams. So I want to share a brief video with you today about what we've been able to build at Innovative E and that extends teams for and basically creates a PPM system inside teams. So let's take a look. All right, it's called Teams for PM, and it's something that we've created in order to basically reconfigure, if you will, the Teams platform, the Microsoft platform, and position it for project management purposes, project portfolio management purposes. All right, so what does Teams for PM do? Well, it's built with Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power BI. It's something that Innovative Ease created inside of Microsoft Teams, and it optimizes and extends Teams for work and project management. It centralizes the management of all your project data, regardless of complexity, because it can use both Project Online, which means that you can use the project desktop, or Project for the web, which is the browser-based version for the scheduler. So if you're using Project Online today, we can bring Project Online entirely into Teams, and then we can also extend it for the casual project managers in your organization by leveraging the capabilities of Project for the web for simple project management purposes. I'm going to show you that in a minute. It automates and governs Teams channel creation. So when you start a project, it actually creates the Teams channel for you, and it provisions all the necessary tabs in that channel for collection of your data. It provides tailored workflow for your business processes and allows for central editing of all project-related data. And it provides out-of-the-box Power BI reports and dashboards that we've already created for your PMO. So you can have a single dashboard for all project work, regardless of complexity. You can log issues and risks right from a Teams chat thread. Because your data is centralized, there are a couple of different advantages of that. We can start throwing AI against it and learn from that data. We can also connect that data with other line of business systems by centralizing it there and exposing it to Power Automate. So here's a visualization on how it works. First, you fill out a form, create a new project, and that can go through your workflow, or you can use our simple basic workflow approval process. As soon as that project is approved, it provisions the right scheduler for the job. So whether that scheduler is going to leverage the desktop component of project, or it's going to leverage the project for the web version, you pick. And it'll provision all the necessary tabs for issue, risk, and lessons learned capture in that channel that it created for you. So you don't have to set it up yourself. Project managers may be trying to do this themselves, and they may be doing it in different ways and inconsistently across the organization. And what that's going to create is kind of some data silos unintentionally, and it's going to decentralize your data.
And lead to adoption issues, right? People don't know where to go. Every project, it looks different.
Every project's different,
yeah.
Right? Every project manager is managing things a little bit differently. From there, you can actually, chat, collaborate about your project, and in the course of doing so, you want to create a risk, you want to log an issue. Well, you can do that right from the chat thread itself, and that issue and risk will go into the central database. It'll be in the reporting, and it'll be available on the project in the project channel for visibility. So what we can do is we can take all of the necessary information about a project, the tasks, the reporting, the metadata about a project, and centralize that all entirely within Teams. So you reduce your context switching. You don't have to leave Teams. Team members, leadership, and project managers alike can use Teams and get the data that they want in real time. So Teams becomes a central hub for collaborating and allows actually the applications themselves to collaborate together as well. So we're using Teams, Project, Power BI, Power Apps, and all those apps are collaborating among one another to make things simple and easy for you. So we're going to centralize work and project management, provide a modern cloud-based experience and collaborative experience, and we're going to drive decisions from valuable insights. So I want to show you how it works. Let's switch gears to the demo. You can see I'm in Teams, and I'm actually in a browser version of Teams, but it would work in the client, the Teams desktop client, just the same. I want to kind of set the stage here by explaining to you what you're seeing in front of you today. You have different teams. There's a PMO team, there's an IT team, there's an ongoing maintenance team, and a human resources team. You may actually organize things a little bit differently, but for the sake of the demonstration, we're doing it like departmentally, right? There's different things that you may have, different categories of project, like it may be an ongoing maintenance project, fall under that team. And then, new product development falls under a different team. That's okay. That's just in how we organize it for you at the end of the day. But in this particular case, we're providing an example. You have within the PMO, you have a project request form tab. And this is where you would go to request a new project or to get started with something new. It's your intake. You
And
probably have a form. Go ahead,
this is
Mike.
just a basic one, right? I mean, this is
Yeah,
we provide this as an example. Virtually all of our customers want their own project intake. You'd mentioned before that
that's right.
it's customizable. This is one of those things that everyone has their own process for how projects come in and get approved and what steps you want to go through. So all of that is customizable. This is just a very simplistic way to get it done so that we can kind of
Right.
demonstrate it.
So I'll go ahead and fill out some basics here. And again, this form can have steps to it. It can have a more detailed workflow. It can branch the workflow. Let's say, for example, you had projects that cost X amount and they needed a separate level of approval, or you had different departments had different ways of handling intake. That's okay. We want to go ahead and fill out some basic information about the project, and we go ahead and submit it. And when you submit that, it's going to go through your workflow process. We have a simple example here. Basically, that workflow process is going to kick off an approval. I'm going to get that approval into my team's activity notification, and then I'll have to make a decision about whether I want to approve that project or not. When I am presented with that option, in my example, I get the ability to tell Teams for PM which scheduler I want to use. So do I use Project for the Web or Project Online? And I'll show you both examples inside of the solution. And do I want to approve that or do I want to deny it?
So
Your approval process may be slightly different.
before somebody asks, Brian, can you use both Project for the Web and Project Online with Teams for PM?
You can. You can use both.
At
So
the same time.
some projects might necessitate the use of the desktop, or you might have project managers that want to use the desktop and get that level of capability. And then you may
Right.
have some simpler projects that you want to use Project for the Web for that are maybe agile or more collaborative, or you want to use a Kanban board. You can use both.
So the advantage there is now everybody, no matter which execution tool they're using for a project scheduler, is the same Teams construct, governed
Yeah.
exactly the same way for no matter which
Yep.
workload they're using.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So then in my main Teams for PM app, that's where all the data kind of comes together, and all the data about projects is edited and centralized. So this is where you would administer the entire portfolio. You have your active project requests that are going on. Notice that we have two different execution paths, Mike. We have
There it is.
projects that
Yep.
are being managed in Project for the Web and Project Online, which allows the
Mhm.
use of the desktop. We can departmentalize. We can even associate projects with certain programs. They're given a description, a cost. And here in the
So
project summaries area, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, and you can actually edit that data there, right? If you have the
You
right
can, you
permissions.
can. Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's a big differentiator, right? Because what we've seen in the past is customers have always asked, "Can I see all my information in one place?" Right? Yeah, we can put it in a Power BI report. And then the next question they always ask is, "Can I change it there?" And the answer is no, that's a report.
Right.
So what this does is solve that problem.
Exactly.
And it goes
And,
back to the execution tool, right? So if it was in a
right.
project online or a project for the web, if you make a change to that metadata there, it goes back to the tool it was. So the project manager, ostensibly, you only give this power to to like a portfolio manager or a PMO manager or something like that.
Right. That's a really good point. But as you were actually explaining that, Mike, I got my card. So I'll just go
Oh, there
over
you go.
to my chat. I got my Power Automate card, which said that the webinar test project was ready for approval. And how do I want to provision that? Do I want to use Project Online or Project for the Web? I'm going to go ahead and put Project for the Web and approve it and submit that. While that's processing, I'll go back to my main Teams app and show you a couple more things. So in my main Teams app, I have the ability to have a current status, like a verbal status about what's going on with my project. I have all my red, yellow, green indicators, some cost information. If you guys want more stuff that you want to collect about your project, like we've got the basics here, but if you need more metadata fields, we can build them in for you. That would just be a configuration we make. We also have lists, and those list items currently have issues. So these are all the issues, Mike, across the entire portfolio coming up here in a central screen. And I can
Right.
actually make changes to these here.
Right. And that's another big ask people have for issues and risk being able to be centralized and viewable in one place.
Right,
So management can look at it and say, yeah, I agree with that, or hey, I need to make this change.
right. I've got risks and lessons learned and issues here, but if I make changes here, that's great. But people don't have to come here to log those risks. They can actually log them in their respective team's channel. Let's go into one of those channels and I can show you how it works from that standpoint. So again, this channel was actually stood up automatically. Nobody created this channel. It was stood up by the workflow. And in that channel, I have a project schedule. And that project schedule is using Project for the Web. Project for the Web is what I was showing earlier in a couple of screenshots, is a really simple, nice, easy to use project scheduler. It offers different views on the data and the ability to have different columns and categorize things different ways. You can add columns to the grid view by coming in here and adding the columns you want that are pre-made, or you can create custom columns. You can move things around so that if you want columns to appear in a different way, you want them to appear in different order, you can move the columns around accordingly. So let's say you wanted, labels to be over here. You would just move it. You'd go ahead and move it around. You can create different custom labels to things, like some things are customer and some things are IT related, whatever the case may be, or maybe you want to reflect different prioritization, and make things kind of pop out of the schedule a little bit. And of course, you can assign tasks to people on the project team, so that is automatically, available in here. And when the team's channel is provisioned, all the people in the IT team will automatically have access to this project, so you can assign them as resources. It has a board view, and that board view has a couple of different capabilities to it too. You can group things by bucket or like a categorization. You can look at things by progress. So here's your Kanban board, and you can take things and drag and drop them from not started to in progress to completed. There's even a sprint view, and you can use the sprint view in order to look at things from a backlog to what's in sprint 1 and what's in sprint 2. So that there's that capability right there within the project scheduler. You have a timeline, and you can look at things in terms of your Gantt chart, your traditional Gantt chart. And you can then move things around and interact with the timeline. So push things out, and that's going to cause downstream effect on projects that are dependent on one another. You can create new dependencies by dragging and dropping and creating dependencies in your tasks, and zoom in and out of that Gantt chart so you can see it kind of more at a distance. Here I'm looking at maybe a monthly view as opposed to like a quarterly or annual view. You also have some basic reporting and charts in here, which are about the project itself, and that people tab I was telling you about earlier. So we've got 3 different people assigned work, and if too much is on Susan, we can move this over to Roland. Or if Roland's working on a few too many things, we can move this one over to Sylvie. So you can see that happening in real time. Oh, I just got another notification that my team for my new project just got built. So while I was talking, Teams for PM did all the work behind the scenes, and it set up my project. I have my project schedule available in Project for the Web. And Mike, we can even templatize this, so you can choose a template for your organization, and it'll deploy that template.
Yep, consistently the same way every time.
I've got a project report that just got stood up automatically and available in Power BI, and it's just done. Nothing else I need to do in order to create this or edit this. And it can be the way that your organization wants to see the data. In this case, it's brand new. There isn't any data. But if I were to go over here to executive dashboards and take a look at that same exact project report, you would notice that it's filling it out as I'm working on the schedule and as I'm providing updates to the metadata. I've got my issues, my lessons learned, and my risks that got automatically provisioned. And if I want to go ahead and log a new one, I can go to new here. That's going to go back to the main app and in the reporting. But if I wanted to log a risk from a post, I could do that too. I can just go here to log risk or issue, and it creates it right from a Teams chat thread. So let's say that you were talking about something with your team and you thought that that was a risk, then you wanted to log that. We can go ahead and log that right there.
Rather than have to go back out to the application project for the
Yeah.
web in this case, go to that project, go find that list and enter it there,
Yeah.
right? And that's the whole
Well, the
thing
worst
about
thing could happen is that that's so complicated that you don't log it, or you
right. You
forgot
write
to
it
log
down
it,
on a
or you
piece of
wait
paper
to the
and then you
next
forget.
status meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to show you also that if you wanted to provision a project with Project Online, what does that look like? And that's going to give you the ability to synchronize with the desktop and provide more capabilities, like all the capabilities of Project and the power of the Project desktop at your disposal. And it's the same, except that the scheduler is just here and it's visualized in a browser, but it's synchronized and you can edit it locally on your desktop. And then the project report's the same, the issues list, lessons learned, risks. So regardless of your execution method or the complexity of your project, everything else is consistent. Everything else is the same. So that's a huge capability for folks. So if you're out there and you're using Project Server or Project Online, let's get it into Teams. That's where the people are. That's where things are happening. You have a project schedule that you have going on, and you want to talk about it. Let's start a conversation. Let's start doing things in Teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of that going on, kind of this whole concept of modernization. So what this allows you to do, Teams for PM, is to start to modernize while you're still using, if you're already using something like Project Online, which some people are kind of thinking of as kind of a legacy PPM application. You can still use that, but then start using all the capabilities of Teams, bring people into Teams where they're already working, and then you can start adding in things like Project for the Web.
Here, let's talk about this solution versus some other things that you may be looking at or using. Task and schedule management. Yeah, you can get a third-party app that does that, but that task and schedule management is going to be proprietary in that app, and as well as competing PPM systems. In Teams for PM, we're providing two project management options, both Project for the Web and Project Online, right within Teams. Teams-based collaboration, obviously it's native to Teams. One of the things I think folks need to realize, Mike, is that when you're using a third-party cloud app or a competing PPM system and they have a Teams plugin, that data is not in Teams. It's actually in the third-party app.
Yep, exactly. And being outside in the third party app means that it's off your client, right? It's in somebody else's cloud. It's not on your
Right.
Microsoft cloud, secure cloud, which can
Right.
cause issues for your InfoSec folks. It can cause issues in getting the data back out in any other manner than back through the application. So you might have to go to custom APIs and things like that. So that's again, it's creating those data silos.
Creating data silos and context switching, because the main meat of where you collaborate on the app is not in Teams. It's in the main app itself. Also, it's creating something of a conversation with security. It's another cloud vendor that you have to vet, that you have to look at. Whereas, if you've already using Microsoft M365, you've already had that conversation, and that conversation should be much more streamlined. We can make this work with Project Desktop and synchronize Project Desktop to Teams. Essentially, bridging that gap between people that want to use Project on the desktop and those that want to work in the cloud. There's a lot of other things that we can do. Integrations become easier. Reporting is done in Power BI as opposed to in a proprietary app.
I was going to say, somebody did ask about, they had a couple questions about pricing. So in ballparking, I think, we're I can't remember what it is. It's pretty low end cost per user, right? If it's like $10, $8 or $10 per month or something like that. And it goes up from, it goes down from there with larger numbers of users.
Yeah, we'd love to talk to you about that some more. We can share some more specific pricing scenarios for your organization. So let us know that you want to have that discussion. We'd be happy to follow up with you. So Teams for PM leverages your current Microsoft investment that you're already making in M365. If you want to just use the Project for the Web option, then you're going to need M365. That's kind of table stakes, Mike. You're going to need Project Plan 1 for your project managers, and then Power Apps per user for 2 service accounts. you're going to need Power BI Professional or Premium for the people that are going to be looking at the dashboards. If you want to use the Project Online option, you're going to need a little bit more project licensing because it's necessitated there. You're going to need a mix of Plan 3 and 5 in one. And then you're going to need Power Apps per user for 2 service accounts and Power BI Professional or Premium. We've got plenty of customers that are using the tool that you can talk to. Sorry about the dogs barking. There's nothing I can do about it. Working from home is weird sometimes. Microsoft Solutions brought the ability to pull everyone together into a synchronized system. That's coming from Kurt Mithofer, the AVP of Planning and Value Creation at Southern Hampshire University.
Yeah, so if you guys want to learn more, and I know we're at time here, so we'll try to make this quick. There's a QR code there. You can go to our Teams for PM website. There's plenty of customer case studies and other things there. You can contact us directly at the URL that's on there, or reach out directly to Brian, or if you want to reach out to me, it's just mike.taylor. Don't have it on there, at Innovative E. So we're happy to have those conversations. Really look forward to hearing some of your challenges and seeing if there's some things that we could help you solve. All right. So I think it's also an app source. It's a relatively recent announcement that we are an app source. So you got the QR code there. So if you're on the Microsoft App Source site, it is available there. Basically, what it's going to tell you is you need to contact us anyway. So, but you can go find it there. It is available. And the last thing is wanted to let you guys know that Microsoft has invited us to participate with them as their premier sponsor, working in their booth and with them at the PMI event that's coming up, Global PMI in Vegas. It's actually the 1st and 2nd, I think, is when the showroom floor is open. So if you're out there, come see us. We'd love to have a chat with you. And
thanks everybody for joining. We'll open up the forum now. If you want to go ahead and ask a question, if there's any questions that have already been asked via chat that we can cover, let us know.
There were several questions. I think I answered most of them, and you covered some of them already, Brian, as far as like the prerequisite licensing that are required for things like Project for the Web, P1, P3, P5. Just depends on what kind of functionality you want. And if anybody doesn't know, the pricing on Project for the Web it's also it's very economical at the lower end versions, or depending on your agreement with Microsoft, I think somewhere between $8 and $10 per month.
Yeah, that's right.
And then if you need more capabilities, if you already have a P3, I think this is right, Brian? If you already have a P3, you get a Project for the Web license with it, right?
Oh yeah, it's like a graduated scale. So if you have Plan 5, you have Plan 3, and then you have Plan 1. If you have Plan 3, then you have Plan 1. It's just included. So if you're already using Project Desktop, chances are you already have a license for Project for the Web. If you're licensed for a cloud subscription, if you're not, then we can upgrade you to a cloud subscription and talk to your Microsoft rep about that. We're happy to have that discussion and help explain what you need. If you have any other questions that you don't want to ask in a public web forum, please feel free to email me. There's my email address up there, or if you want to just go to our website, teams4pm.com, and submit the contact form, we'd be happy to schedule another call with you, and check on your readiness for the solution, answer any of your questions that you have about how it works, get you another demo. Maybe talk to some other folks in your organization that you may want to socialize this with. Anything really that you need, just let us know. All right, folks, if there aren't going to be any other questions, we'll let you go. Please remember, we are sending out the recording to you, so you'll be getting that shortly. And let's be in touch about anything else you want to talk about with regard to Teams, using Teams for project management, or Teams for PM, our app. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining and staying till the end.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. Hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thanks.